everyone. Welcome to another episode of UX Pathways, and I have the honor of having Ana Sofia Gonzalez. How are you today?
Hi, Mark. Good. Thanks. Thank you for having me here today.
Yeah, excited to have you here. I know you've had a very interesting career, so I would love for everyone to understand your journey. And could you just tell us right now, what is your current role in the industry?
Yeah, I'm a principal designer at Microsoft, leading some of the initiatives of like our Microsoft Copilot Studio. So that is where you create your own agent. And I'm doing a lot of the parts of the automation pieces. So how can you make that agent smart? And it's very complex and technical, but it's fun at the same time because it's like, how can we use AI to create AI? So it's a fun innovation challenge.
That's so much fun. And I've had the opportunity, I've been using Copilot now for, I think, the last 2 years professionally and trying to figure out how do I combine that with my standard UX skill set. So I
Yeah.
can't even imagine being on the other side actually creating it. That has to be, I don't know, I don't even know how to describe that. That you probably have to every day figure out how do I describe what do I do again?
Yeah, and it's also like how do you keep up with the market? Because there are so many good startups out there and companies that are doing really great job. Like, of course, OpenAI's beating all of us. But even like my PM the other day came to the office saying like, I created this Figma using AI. And it was so spot on. It had even the fluent from Microsoft, like the signs. So I'm like, I'm gonna get out of a job, but I'm creating these tools for just to make us being faster, right? So if a PM can create an idea, it doesn't you still need me as a designer just to focus on those user needs. So I think like it's gonna be my role more strategic, but it's just cool to see how creativity is unblocking and or unlocking to many people that don't consider themselves creative. So I think that's a huge win.
Yeah, I think that is a huge win. And as you said, a lot of people feel threatened by it, but at the
Mhm.
same point, where can you work with it to make
Exactly.
something even better? Which I think,
Yeah.
and one of the things I think about what you just said is if everyone starts using it, and then everyone, it reminds me of back in the day when websites were designed, and all of a sudden you started seeing all the same designs, white background, mega menu on the top, hero image, and then how do I stand out from that? So I'd imagine that there will be some point where
Mhm.
depending on where things shift, there'll have to be some type of new path that people will have to take when it comes to designing.
Exactly. Because like AI is really good around like creating things, learning from existing things. And so I think there is like where we can come with our human brains and creativity. And also I just think about like it's making me work faster and as a product team because I don't think about it like myself individually. It's more like we're unlocking potential meeting user needs faster as a team. So that's the other thing, right? It's like we're just being faster and can create more impact by it, more lessons learned from it versus spending like 1 week creating a design and then and going and user test it and see like it failed. Can we just quickly do it in one day and then go talk to a customer like, okay, let's pivot to another direction.
Yeah, I like how you said that. It's just allowing you to work faster, which
Hmm.
we all are trying to get things done.
Hmm.
And this is just, like you said, unlocking more potential. And how did you actually land into this industry?
Yeah, so I feel like I've done a lot of like ping pong. I started by going to art school, and to be honest, I was like a math Olympian, like never had drawn in my life. But my dad was a computer engineer, and I'm like, I don't want to be boring like my dad. And so I went to an art school, not knowing anything. And so from there, I started studying industrial design, and it was very fun. But I saw that handcrafting was not my thing. And so I'm like, how can I use the computer more? So I started doing more about the user research, and then like more of those interactions. And there, a professor said like, oh, there's a course called interaction design. I think you'll be good at it. And so I took it and I'm like, oh, this is great. And that's how I ended up in interaction design. And since I was at the right time when interaction design was beginning to be a thing. I was one of the first graduates with an interaction design like minor. At the time, it was my college and two more colleges that only had that, and so it was just the right time. And so I got a job very easily. I know that right now there's so much competition, and you have to really differentiate yourself. But so from there, I just started in the consultancy in Ogilvy in Denver, and I started working as a consultant, which I think it was a great education to go consultant first and then like corporate, just because I had to be a jack of all trades. So it really taught me to be a user researcher, an interaction designer, a visual designer, how to talk around requirements. So I had to learn all of these different skill sets. And I feel like when you start in corporate, it's really defining, and people are different experts on that. So I had to do a little bit of everything. And from there, I went to Mexico, did a freelancing as well. And then I came to Microsoft, thinking I was going to do consumer music streaming service. And I ended up in a reorg in mixed reality. And that became enterprise mixed reality. And I ended up in enterprise. And then from there on, it's just being in incubation, enterprise incubations. So really, how do you bring AI into enterprise in order to facilitate workflows, and make more productive, to people like have more productivity. But yeah, I feel like it's been a little like roller coaster. I'm going from consultancy to like corporate and then moving from like the US to Mexico back and forth. And now I ended up here. And I think it's been fun because I really love just to think about the users and how I can help them. And a lot of people don't think about the enterprise. Enterprise is so complex and it's very engineer oriented. So it's like even if you put in one button, you make the whole life easier about this user. So for me, it was like it's easier to have a success metrics. If I went then in consumer, it's more fun in consumer. But I feel like the true complex problems are in enterprise.
And I love how you started out that you started as a consultant, and
Mhm.
I had a similar path as well. And then you're doing everything, and you realize that there is more to what all these specialties are. You know, if you're
Yeah.
project managing or if you're doing QA testing or anything. So then when you actually get the chance to land in that role, you sort of have a little more respect for everything that's involved in
You
that,
can
and you understand how to
communicate.
communicate with them.
Exactly. So now I know how to communicate with user researchers. Now I can communicate. Like if there's someone that's better at visual design than me and I need help, like communicate with them so they can help me out. Like whatever it is, now it's easier for me to communicate because I understand what they need to get unblocked. And so it's just easier transaction.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things you touched upon was that, especially in corporate, there's a lot of restrictions, and then you're also working in engineering. In your role, how would you describe what you've done to ensure it's a positive user experience?
So in my role, it's more around the strategic part. And so it's really understanding the business. And I think right now, everywhere, like it's not only in my role, like everywhere in the tech industry, it's business first right now, how we are. And so understanding the goals of the business and then understanding the user needs. So and the jobs to be done and then see the gap there. So from there, like how can you fill it in? Like that it's easier to push engineers, PMs like through the business, like, hey, like this will block this part of the business. And then I'm also surfacing the user needs and great experiences. So then it's like I have more backup from the team in order to align to that. And so I just really go to talk to customers and sometimes I don't have access to them because it's a very complicated tool, but it's mostly going through the tool and also experience it. Like I think sometimes as designers, we don't use our own tools that we're designing. And so it's like really see the frustrations. And then like sometimes it's just performance, like loading and like, okay, can I have something when it's loading just to teach them? So it's just getting that creativity. So using the tool, doing usability and just trying to match the business, like where it's going next in the strategy.
Yeah, and I think you once again, there's a lot to unpack there.
I know it's a lot.
I think one of the things that I zeroed in on was once again that communication and thinking about the strategy working with the business. Would you say that's the most challenging thing to ensure there's a positive user experience, or is
Yeah, because
there more?
sometimes like the business will say, let's say, just incorporate this, and so we can do more billing. And it's like, but actually that won't unlock the complex scenario that we really need. So it's just how can you talk through those business cases with the user point of view? And I think it's using the tool as well. So if you use it, you can see the scenario and thinking about real use life case like cases. I think that's something that we miss, or especially me as a designer, like sometimes just think more about the feature, the specific like interaction, and I didn't think about the end-to-end scenario, like where did the user started to where they end, and like where are those gaps where they might be some drop-offs. And so if you can just help that end-to-end, and that's that you can bring that to the business, like, hey, look, if the end-to-end is more seamless, and the user can do complete their tasks A, B, and C, this is where like it's gonna unlock more power and they're gonna do more, want to buy more, or will recommend it to their other enterprises, and we're gonna get more mm, um revenue or return of investment. That's at the end of the day what I care about, the return of investment.
You're speaking in the business terms.
I
And then
know.
I love the fact that you talked about scenarios and then talking about real life scenarios, because I think a lot of times people are going down, well, this is how it, the expected path. But most of the time, it's trying to think of those scenarios where you could go down the unexpected path, which is sounds like
Yeah,
you're trying to map those out within the tool you're using.
exactly. Yeah, because there's like we can always do the simple golden path, but then the real hiccups will be in those edge cases, and those complexity ones.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
thinking about it's yourself and your career and how you went through everything to get to where you are right now. If I were someone that was looking in through the window, or maybe I'm in another role and I'm thinking, how can I do exactly what you're doing? What type of advice would you give to people looking to be advocates for end users?
Yeah, I feel like just empathize, right? Like trying to think, put yourself in someone else's shoes. So, for example, what I'm doing, it's very complex. You build your own agent, but if I think about like, what if there's a person in finance that wants to just like automate some of their work and not be in Excel sheets all the time? Let me go through that scenario and let me put myself in their shoes. Like I have Excel plus this other thing that my invoices are in the Outlook. How can they just automatically go to my Excel sheet and the agent tells me like the data I need, the analytics? So just think about the end user and like with again with that real world life scenario, and go through those points and just think about yourself like what do I need to unblock myself and those jobs to be done.
And
Hmm.
thinking about your new, I guess, path right now with AI and artificial intelligence, that seems to be very intriguing to many people. And figuring out how do I get into that. Is it just starting to use the tool along with what you're doing? Is it, or is there, I know everyone seems to learn different ways, whether it's getting hands onto it, reading something. What would you recommend trying to bring that
I
in?
do a little bit of both in the sense that I really go into like let's say LinkedIn or any other media and just go through and see like what's the latest. Look at the latest. I also love Medium. And then from there, also look at like the new tools and play around with them. It's all about playing. I feel like it's for me, like I call it prototyping. It's really just playing and looking what others have. And then there's some cases that, for example, me. As being on Microsoft, can't use the exact competitors' tools. It's very frowned upon, and so I can get in trouble. And so I just could look at YouTube videos too. Like you don't really need to like download the tool, but what has most unlocked for me potential scenarios have been like using OpenAI. So, because now that I use it, now I can understand more the mental models and what it can do. And I use it for my personal, like I'm going on a honeymoon, and so it's like, okay, can you do this trip for me? Tell me like which hotels, and so things like that. It's just, can you put into your personal life cases and then see how it can help you? And so it's like using the tool, looking at it like what's out there that's new, and it's so important right now to just once a week, just trying to learn what's out there again, because there's so technology is advancing so fast. We cannot keep up. So just look at what's out there. Once a week, dedicate yourself an hour or 30 minutes, even if it's when you're drinking your coffee. And just look what's out there, and if a YouTube video interests you or a type of video, you can just go and see it. Not necessarily just use the tool, but a little bit of a mix. Mhm.
I love that advice because the week goes by so fast. If you don't carve out time, you're going to say, nah, maybe I'll do it next week. And then next week passes. So you have to make time for it.
It's for learning. And I got this advice recently from a BP at Microsoft saying like that she dedicates a lot of time. She dedicates like 2 hours a day just to learn. And for her, learning is going through like what's out there and like reading, and like I think that for me it's too much. So I try to do like, at least if I do my 20 minutes a week, right? Because I need to deliver work too. But yeah, like I know like very high functioning executives just focus on learning. And so that's the thing about us too as designers, which is to know what innovative ideas we can do out there. It's just also looking at what's out there. And so it's the learning piece.
2 hours is a luxury. 30 minutes,
Oh,
I might be able to do that. I love that.
exactly. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Ana
It's like the
Sofia,
small steps.
it's been a blast having you on our
Thank you.
podcast. If anyone out there wanted to connect with you or find out more about what you're doing, is there anywhere where you would direct them?
Yeah, go to LinkedIn, feel to message me there. I also have my own website, anasofiagonzalez.com. You can look at the podcast and the conference I've given talks at. But yeah, I sometimes write articles in Medium as well. So you can search for me there. But yeah, I love the UX community. I feel like giving back is what really gives me energy. And like if more of us are here together and thinking about the user experiences, I think it's gonna be more fun, and at the same time it's like unblocking those processes that even for like day to day, like I just had to renew my passport. So it's like even like those little things, we just make the world better. And yeah, I would look forward to having more designers. Yeah.
Well, I agree with everything you just said, and it's been great having you on. Thank you for sharing your story, and I wish you the best of luck in everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much. Bye, Mark.
Thank you.